I'm starting by cutting the panels. These are the panels for the back of the cabinet, and I'm going to join them with dominoes. I'm using 30 mil dominoes on this. I have everything pre-lined, and I'm just going to cut them all on both sides and get ready for glue up and joining them together. And the material I'm using here is maple plywood, 3/4 inch. Now for the very corner of the back, I'm just going to use some pins to hold it in place while I drive my screws in. Now this part, you're not going to see it. That's why I'm going to use screws on this back piece. I'm going to pre-drill my holes and use 1 5/8 inch screws. Now again, you're not going to see the screws in the corner because it is a corner cabinet, so I'm not going to worry about this too much. Now I am applying a little bit of glue, my dominoes, and this is the front sides. Now it is a small cabinet, and it's just to hold paper. So I'm going to drive about 3 clamps on each end to clamp them down. I'm going to use a little bit of water and take care of all the glue squeeze out. And I just use a knife to kind of clean up the edges. It makes it a lot easier to clean it up now than wait till later. Now I'm doing the other side. Now this isn't Gorilla Glue I'm using. I just have the bottle that's Gorilla Glue, but it is Titebond. I just keep refilling up the bottle. Once these clamps are in place, it will sit for a day or two before I can even get to the next part. So I'm just going to let it sit in clamps for a day. This is the very front piece. Now, one corner is got a 45-degree angle on it, and the other side is just flat. I am going to run my edge stripping now to make it easier for me. Now, the edge stripping is a little bit wide. I ran out of 3/4, so I'm just using 1 and I think 1/8. It's kind of a bit of a waste, but it saves me time from running out and grabbing. And it's the same method I always use. Glue it down, use a file to clean up the edge, sand it at a 5-degree angle to soften up the edges. Now for the bottom and middle shelf, I'm just going to drive some pocket hole screws, 1 1/4 inch. You're not going to see these screws because they're mounted from underneath. And the middle shelf, they don't want it adjusting. They want it permanent. So this works out perfect for me. I'm using a couple of 4-inch scrap blocks. I'm going to clamp it on the bottom, and then I'm just going to push that bottom shelf right up to the block and drive my screws in. And I find that this is the best, fastest method to use. Now the one mistake I did here is I didn't edge band the front. I should have did that first before I installed it. It would have been easier. now that the bottom shelf is in place. For the middle shelf, I just got some scrap pieces. I made sure it was divided in half. Again, just laid in place. Push the shelf up against and drive my screws home. Now, as you see, I have to edge band this afterwards, which is a little bit more of a pain. I wish I would have did it pre-hand, but too late. I wasn't thinking straight, I guess. And then for the top, I just use pieces of scrap. There is a countertop that's going on top there. Customer's supplying that, and that gives them a lot of screwing capabilities on the top once it comes in. For the door, I'm going to edge band this pre-hand all the way around so I don't have to do it later. They wanted a flat door, so it was pretty simple to make. Here I'm using my jig to cut in for the hinges. Now I'm using a piece of scrap, and I'm going to clamp it to the top corner of the door. They wanted a lock on this corner. So I'm just using the scrap for backing, so when I drill my hole, I don't get any blowout. I'm going to test fit to make sure everything fits okay. Now the last piece of the cabinet is the kick plate. I am just going to glue and drive 2 screws on each end, and I'm just going to use pocket hole screws to mount it in place. I'm just going to use some clamps to hold it in place while I drive my screws home. Now comes for the staining. I'm using Golden Oak Stain. I got this tiny little brush because there's not much to stain here. The inside of the cabinet is not getting stained. It's only the outside and the door. So basically the corners, the kick plate, and the door. And I'm just applying 1 coat. Now this is going to sit for about 4 hours, 5 hours. And now I'm going to apply a generous coat of sand and sealer from Chemcraft. And this is going to sit for about 15-20 minutes, and then I will sand it down. Now I'm spraying 3 coats of clear, and again this is Omega Coatings, and it is a Veracure 20% sheen. And I'm spraying a coat every 10-15 minutes. And it's getting a total of 3 coats. I finally got this project done. The customer was waiting 6 months for this project, for this cabinet. They're getting their own countertop. I got really backed up and busy. The simplest thing, a few hours to build, a day or two to finish, but it took 6 months for me to get to it so I can get it done. He waited a long time, but I finally got it done, and hopefully this doesn't happen again. And that pretty much is about it for this one, and I'm off to the next project. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell so you're notified every time I upload a video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.